I'm Katie Couric. NASA has never seen a story like this. An astronaut charged with attempted murder. She's gone from the space shuttle to a jail cell. Police say she tried to kill someone she viewed as a romantic rival. The big freeze. Temperatures are still way down tonight, but guess what's going back up? Your heating bills. $9 billion in cash sent to Iraq, and nobody can say what happened to it. And the American spirit. Tonight, one doctor's fight to make sure hospitals cure us and don't kill us.
Hospitals are very dangerous places.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Hi, everyone. For decades, astronauts have been among the most revered and respected people in the country. Highly intelligent and squeaky clean. But tonight, a shining star in the program is facing charges of attempted murder in a bizarre story that has left some people wondering about how astronauts are screened. Sharon Alfonsi begins our coverage tonight in Orlando, Florida.
Lisa Nowak was at home in space.
It's incredible looking out the window.
But today, her high-flying career came crashing to the ground. The 43-year-old astronaut was charged with attempted murder, trading her spacesuit for prison blues.
What we have appears a desperate woman who wants to have a conversation with the other woman.
Nowak is a married mother of 3, but police say she was in love with space shuttle pilot William Oefelein. The two had trained together. Nowak learned of a woman she thought was a threat to their relationship, Colleen Shipman. So police say she drove 900 miles from Houston to the Orlando airport to track her down, wearing a wig and in a bizarre display of NASA ingenuity, diapers.
She was wearing diapers. Did she say why?
Obviously, she wanted to make that trip as expeditiously as she could.
Police say Nowak followed the woman into the parking garage, tapped on her car window, then sprayed her with mace. Nowak later told police she just wanted to talk to the woman.
I don't know that people want to be sprayed with any kind of mace when you want to have a conversation with somebody.
Prosecutors say Nowak wanted to kidnap and kill the woman. And they say the robotic arm specialist brought the tools to Florida to do it. A 4-inch folding knife, rubber tubing, and a steel mallet the cops say could easily kill someone. They also found a BB gun, possibly for intimidation. And in her car, love letters to Oefelein and handwritten directions to the other woman's home. NASA has dozens of engineers checking every shuttle liftoff. This makes you wonder, who's checking the astronauts?
The job of astronaut is very competitive. They have thousands of applicants for every open seat. There's physical screening in terms of physical exams and health questions. There's also psychological screening. Certainly Lisa Nowak went through all of that screening, passed all of that, and of course she just finished a very successful shuttle mission.
It may be one misstep for NASA, but it's a giant leap backwards for one woman's dignity.
And Nowak is now headed back to Houston. The astronaut who once said she loved the freedom of space has been ordered by a judge to wear a global positioning system on her ankle to track her every move. Katie?
Sharon Alfonsi, thank you. As we saw in Sharon's report, our CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood is standing by at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Bill, is this episode causing NASA to rethink the way it screens or evaluates astronauts?
You know, I think, Katie, it's too soon to say what might come out of this, but the center director here, Mike Coates, a former shuttle commander, said today that he's going to go back and look at everything associated with this process to see if anything might have been missed, something that might have indicated a problem. They've got programs down here to try to encourage astronauts and others to seek help for problems without a stigma being attached to it. But obviously something happened here and it didn't work out quite right.
And Bill, I know you've interviewed Lisa Nowak. Did you have any indication there was anything unusual about her?
Not at all, Katie. She was excited about her mission like everyone going up on their first flight, really looking forward to it, very competent, a very energetic interview, and I was very impressed with her preparation and readiness to fly.
All right, Bill Harwood. Bill, thanks very much. Now to the deep freeze. It is still bone-chilling in a big part of the country, like in embarrassed Minnesota, where it was a humiliating 42 below this morning. Don't even ask about the wind chill. Toledo, Ohio, it was 4 below with a wind chill of -17. It was so cold, in fact, they closed the outdoor ice skating rink there. Rochester, New York, 11 degrees with a wind chill of 15 below. And today, the cold snap turned deadly. More now from Cynthia Bowers.
This small home where a large family sought shelter from a frigid night in Kentucky turned into a death trap when an explosion and fire killed 4 adults and 6 children.
It was gone, the whole house. It was awful.
Investigators say it is too early to pinpoint a cause. Family members say an overworked furnace had been acting up. Another tragic twist in a cold snap that is already blamed for 11 other deaths in the Midwest and Northeast, 6 here in Illinois.
Look at me.
Elderly residents of an apartment complex in Chicago say they managed to survive 3 sub-zero days without heat by wrapping in blankets.
Old people, sick people can live in this condition. How?
As if the cold weren't enough, a new storm front dumped as much as 6 inches of snow across large stretches of the Midwest, causing dreadful drives. More than 2 feet of new snow made life miserable for a second day in western New York.
As all you see is white anywhere you look.
And the more white we see, the less green we'll be seeing in our wallets. Oil and natural gas prices shot up as soon as the mercury went down. The same crude oil that was going for $54.55 a barrel last Tuesday was trading today at $59.99, up almost 10% in just a week. Natural gas went from $7.02 to $7.73, also up 10%. Forecasters say you can blame a familiar troublemaker for the Arctic blast.
We've seen a shift in the weather pattern with the El Nino weakening. The jet stream that's been holding the cold air north has moved south, so that's opened up the floodgates, so to speak, and the cold air is heading into the U.S.
On the upside, if you want to call it that, temperatures here should be back in the double digits by tomorrow. But what a sad state of affairs when we think of 15 or 20 as a break from the cold. Katie?
All right, Cynthia Bowers. Cynthia, thanks, and I'm glad you finally put on a hat tonight. It looks cute. Just when we thought things would be heating up on Capitol Hill over the president's plan to send more troops to Iraq, things seem to be at a standstill, at least for now. Today, the House announced it will debate the plan starting next Tuesday. The Senate's plans to be the first to debate the new strategy fell apart last night. Meanwhile, in Baghdad, tensions are escalating between the U.S. and Iran over the disappearance of an Iranian diplomat. Was he kidnapped, and if so, by whom? From Baghdad, here's Lara Logan.
The only thing certain about what happened in this Baghdad neighborhood Sunday is that an Iranian diplomat is missing. When the news broke on state-run Iranian television today, they said Jalal Sharafi had been kidnapped and blamed the U.S. The U.S. military, in the midst of a new security crackdown in the Iraqi capital, denied any involvement. And the Iraqi government's official spokesman said they were investigating whether Sharafi was kidnapped or arrested. Unnamed Iraqi officials claimed commandos from this elite Iraqi unit, controlled by U.S. forces, had taken the diplomat, but they offered no proof. The one person who didn't seem to have any doubt about what happened was Iran's ambassador in Baghdad.
This group had American facilities, such as American vehicles, and the Americans were behind the kidnapping.
So you're holding America responsible for his life?
Yes, be sure. America is a responsibility and you should answer about this action.
Iran is still angry with the U.S. for the arrest less than a month ago of 5 Iranians they suspect are linked to Shiite militias fighting U.S. forces in Iraq. Now Iran is accusing the U.S. of being kidnappers and demanding the release of a diplomat the U.S. says it doesn't have. With the two countries already at odds over Iran's nuclear program, the stakes are much higher than usual. Lara Logan, CBS News, Baghdad.
Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Robert Gates insisted today that the troop buildup in Iraq is not the last chance to succeed there. And he said that U.S. forces might be able to start leaving Iraq by the end of the year if those additional troops work. Also, the man who was in charge of Iraq right after the U.S. invasion was called on the Capitol Hill carpet today. Here's David Martin.
Paul Bremer once held near dictatorial powers as head of the American occupation. But today he was a punching bag for Democrats demanding to know what happened to an incredible amount of money. $12 billion in cash, literally tons of greenbacks flown to Iraq.
The numbers are so large that it doesn't seem possible that they're true. Who in their right mind would send 360 tons of cash into a war zone.
It was Iraqi money, mostly oil money, held by the Federal Reserve in New York in American dollars because Iraqi currency was worthless. And it was handed out in almost comical ways.
In the back of pickup trucks and in duffel bags full of cash.
Most of it to Iraqi ministries just to keep them running.
We used the Iraqi funds that are the subject of today's hearing to pay the Iraqis quickly. This was exceptionally difficult.
Bremer knew the Iraqi ministries were inefficient, corrupt, and stripped bare by looters, but felt he had no choice.
It was not a perfect solution. But, Mr. Chairman, there are no perfect solutions in Iraq.
Inspector General Stuart Bowen couldn't find what the Iraqis had done with nearly $9 billion.
We know the money went to the Iraqis.
Yes.
The real issue is what the hell did they do with it?
Yes.
And I think it's fair to say that hundreds of millions, maybe even billions, were not spent the way it should have been spent.
Some of it paid to so-called ghost employees.
Paying a ghost employee is paying someone who actually doesn't exist.
Bremer knew the ministry payrolls were padded, but decided to pay anyway.
It was a big number of people, and if we stopped paying them, my judgment was we were going to have real trouble.
Bremer was trying to rebuild a broken country in the middle of the war, and that's what the U.S. is still trying to do, only the war has gotten worse. Katie?
David Martin at the Pentagon tonight. Thank you. There's much more CBS News ahead. Coming up next, the American spirit. Hospital safety, what you don't know could kill you. And this doctor is trying to change that. And later on, a new computer service that could make the TV you're watching obsolete. CBS News in Focus. This week, we've launched an ongoing series called The American Spirit. People with big ideas confronting big problems. Tonight, hospital care. You expect you'll be well taken care of. You certainly don't expect to get sick or even worse from your care, but that happens to at least 1.5 million patients every year simply because they're given the wrong medication. And believe it or not, more Americans die because of hospital mistakes than are killed in car accidents or from guns or illegal drug use. One doctor, though, is on a crusade to change that. His story, another example of the American spirit.
Dr. Donald Berwick, a Harvard-trained pediatrician, has dedicated his life to tracking a killer in a place that is supposed to make you well.
Where's the rapid response? Hospitals are very dangerous places. I don't know how to explain this to the public in a way that doesn't create too much fear, but they need to be realistic. And the technologies that help you can also hurt you, and they do it every single day.
Dr. Berwick estimates that for every 100 patients admitted to hospitals, there are 40 to 50 incidents when patients are harmed, ranging from bruises and bed sores to much more life-threatening situations.
Between 44,000 and 98,000 Americans die in hospitals each year, killed by their care, not by their disease.
Do you hear from family members who say,
all the time,
my husband or wife or sister died and it didn't have to be?
My email is full of the most poignant stories that are surfacing from families, loved ones, patients themselves saying, this happened to me, why did it happen, didn't have to happen.
Stories like 18-month-old Josie King, who came to the hospital for burns but died from dehydration, and 27-year-old Joshua Nahum, who came in for broken bones and died from an infection.
You need to build a hospital like you build an airplane so that everything works right and that there's a kind of automatic excellence in the system instead of relying on human effort.
Dr. Berwick runs the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, and 2 years ago he launched the 100,000 Lives campaign. That's the number of lives he hoped to save by getting hospitals to have standard operating procedures for the way they care for patients, hooking up a ventilator properly to eliminate the risk of pneumonia, ensuring that a patient's medication is monitored from the ICU to the hospital room to home. Dr. Berwick says even something as simple as uniform hand washing requirements would cut hospital infections in half.
So do you travel around and check out the hospitals and see what they're up to?
Yeah, we have a campaign team that makes field visits all the time.
We recently met Dr. Berwick at New York's Beth Israel Hospital, one of the more than 3,000 hospitals that has signed on to his campaign. Dr. Brian Cole is the hospital's director of infection control.
It's interesting that some of these injuries or problems, infections, etc., were pretty much accepted.
The belief was they're at risk, and this is something that's to be expected.
Hi, how are you? Very nice to meet you.
Catherine DeSantis would once have been at risk for a life-threatening infection because of the tube she needs for feeding. But new procedures, championed by Berwick, have greatly reduced the danger.
We standardize practices so that the line is placed in a sterile manner.
Dr. Cole says following the guidelines has saved untold lives.
I'm feeling a lot more, even though I don't want to be in the hospital, a lot more comfortable being here.
Meanwhile, the campaign does more than save lives.
And this actually saves hospitals money?
Yes, a lot of people ask, how can you afford to improve? And the answer is you can't afford not to.
And now Dr. Berwick's organization is making even more recommendations to ensure hospitals are safe.
What about the human component here, though, doctor? I mean, being able to pick up subtle cues from a patient. Can you really mandate and establish a protocol when these human relationships are so important?
If I'm not fighting uphill battles against unreliability and drop balls and things that go wrong, well, now I have time to sit with you and hold your hand and look at your face and answer your questions and do all the other things that only a caring, committed human being can do.
You're emotional about it.
Yeah, I am.
How come?
It's in reach. It's in reach. You know, it's just a matter of will and leadership.
The will to take small, simple steps that could greatly reduce complications and ensure many more people live to leave the hospital.
And coming up tomorrow on The American Spirit, how can America compete with China and India when we're producing fewer and fewer scientists and mathematicians? You'll meet a man who thinks he has the formula to reverse the situation. But up next tonight, Walmart is used to crushing the competition, but now the retail giant faces a court challenge by female employees that could end up costing it billions. Today, another landmark in the fight against breast cancer. The FDA approved a new gene test for the disease. It's called the MammaPrint, and it can tell women who are diagnosed with breast cancer and successfully treated whether the disease will return in 5 to 10 years. But officials warn it's not perfect, and it should be used with other diagnostic tools to treat the initial tumor. A federal appeals court ruled today that Walmart will face the largest sexual discrimination lawsuit in U.S. history. The class action suit alleges that as many as 1.5 million female employees were passed over for promotions and earned less than male co-workers. And the product that has taught generations of kids to bake is now being called unsafe. I know I had one. Toy maker Hasbro has agreed to recall nearly 1 million of its Easy Bake ovens because children's hands can get caught in the opening and in some cases burned. Coming up next, the newest way to watch TV on your computer. Finally tonight, something new for couch potatoes, a marriage of television and the internet. It's called Juiced, and its creators hope it'll change the way you watch TV. We're juiced as long as you keep watching us. Here's Daniel Seberg.
It looks like TV and it sounds like TV.
It's the blood that pumps through my veins.
So what you see, Daniel, is a controller that looks just like your remote control.
But unlike cable or satellite, this TV signal is coming through the internet for free.
If you know how to use a TV, you can use this software.
Really? It's that simple?
It's that simple.
It's called Juiced, and it's a revolutionary venture from the same guys who once angered the record companies with their music downloading software and then turned the internet into a popular way to make cheap phone calls.
Hey, Alice. Hey, Marlene, how are you? People now with the internet are used to total control. They want to be in control of what they're watching and when they're watching it. So we thought we could actually combine the best of TV with the best of the internet.
All these tools.
Things like interactivity, instant messaging, and a search engine.
Let's say I want to see a show about sharks. Well, you just go to our search feature, type in sharks, press search, and you will get a list of all the shows on the system about sharks.
just because the TV's off doesn't mean Joanna Stern isn't watching and messaging her friends.
We can be straight on our computers, watching the same channel, talking about it, and then saying, check out what's on this channel.
But what do that mean?
Stern is one of 14,000 people who've been testing the program, but the creators say it could be coming to a computer near you any day now.
High-tech couch potatoes would be freed from the bonds of their couch. You could watch TV wherever you want, provided you could get a broadband internet connection.
Your favorite programs probably aren't on the system yet. Right now, it's mostly music videos, documentaries, and specialty shows. But the developers say that's going to change.
We're talking about a potential unlimited number of channels.
This is just bringing the TV to the internet in a more direct way, so I think it will definitely change the way we watch TV.
But if it all seems like too many choices, remember, you can always turn it off. Daniel Seberg, CBS News, New York.
But don't do that. That's the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Good night.